Hey guys, how's it going? It's boy M.K.S here, back here with the third and penultimate part of Torino, of my dreams, my dreams for Torino for Christmas, my Christmas dreams or shopping list or whatever you want to call it for Torino. I hope I won't have as many technical issues as I had in part two. Part one was alright, but part two seemed to have a lot of technical issues. So it was a bit of a nightmare. But I was hoping, because today's the 7th, and I think of the biblical teaching that rest on the 7th, even though I'm not that religious, I took it a bit too literally, or take it a bit too literally. So I was hoping it would be a nice, fairly stress-free day, but the last video was really quite stressful. But I hope people out there enjoy it and enjoy these videos. And most importantly, in my opinion, I'd love for them to come true. I forgot to say, there's always something, and I think there's one or two things I forgot to say. In point number 17, I was thinking of saying something, but I'm going to try and say that a bit later in point number 29. But yeah, I think that covers everything for the intro. I'm hoping to cover some videos on Celtic as well if I can, but I was thinking because it's the 7th, I'll try and cover some fun videos and things like that. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I'd like to at least think of ideas for Torino. And although I might not make videos on them every Tuesday and Thursday because I have different topics I like to cover. But anyway, I'm going to try and stop waffling. And here are ideas number 21 to 30. And as ever, I'd love to read your comments and that sort of thing. And if you want to make any reaction videos inspired by this, please feel free. You might think if this guy can make videos, I definitely can. But having said that, here it goes. So number 21, as I say, 21 again, I always say that one pretty much, but I'd love for people to find out about the history of Torino, the Turin derby, facts about Italian football generally, and that kind of thing. And to recap some of the things I talked about, I'd love to see Torino have the best possible investments so they can get the best possible transfers, basically signings and that kind of thing. I'm thinking of alliterations again, so like transfer on Thursday. But yeah, all being well from the 26th, which I believe is a Tuesday. I'm pretty sure it's a Tuesday. Yeah, I just checked earlier as well. But yeah, so on Boxing Day as well. It would be rather fitting if Torino got that investment. So I dream that somehow TATA, Toyota, Tesla, and all of the possible companies as potential investors, beginning with T, maybe even Tony Elamello himself, as I mentioned in my last video, with his own personal investment vehicle as I call it, will invest in Torino. Number 22, I dream that Torino will therefore get the best possible transfers, maybe appoint a new coach, new coaching staff, new manager. Excuse me. Well, I don't know if they'll need that sort of stuff, but I mean, I'm sure they'll need a new coach, good scouts, and possibly a director of football if they don't already have one. And I mean, maybe the manager would be good enough with really good players, getting the best possible players in. But maybe they'll want to take a new manager, an elite manager. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but I'd love to hear from Torino fans, like who would you like to see as your manager? And again, as I talked before about, as well as getting the best possible players, I do hope they'll invest in the youth in the future, having good academies and things like that. But yeah, looking at what they can do in the future, what they can learn from other clubs like other Italian clubs and other clubs internationally, especially Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are the benchmark to learn from. I think if you can learn all the possible things from Real Madrid, I mean, Man City more recently as well. If you learn what they did, maybe even learn some of the mistakes to avoid falling foul of FFP, which I often talk about, financial fair play, for those who don't know what that is. But yeah, to avoid falling foul of those sorts of things or any other mistakes that maybe Man City made, like if there are quicker ways to build, because it took them quite a while to win the Champions League, so I don't know if there are, but if there are quicker ways to build, there are ways you can do it legally, working with FIFA and UEFA, making sure you do it within the law, making sure you find out what the laws are so you don't fall foul of them, or whatever other mistakes can be avoided. And also, I'll say the pitfalls, but also looking at what good things to learn as well from them, what successful sort of things to learn from them. Number 23, I'll say as much investment as possible, and so and Torino being part of Football for Good, working with Celtic and learning from Football for Good, and how a football club can make the world a better place and how it can be run to its best potential, and how they can work with FIFA, UEFA, and their foundations, the FIFA Foundation, UEFA Foundation, and other such foundations all around the world. Sorry about my runny nose. But yeah, so and I'll say look at all the possible legal ways to get investment, and how a club can be run to achieve its potential, and what I suppose Torino, looking at what it can do to benefit itself by being welcoming for investors, and offering good returns and good conditions and things like that. And I suppose Torino fans showing what the club means to them and how investing in them can be a benefit. Also, as I say, new owners and even sponsors and whatnot, whoever puts money into Torino could look at mistakes others have made to avoid those pitfalls, and look at what they've done well, and that kind of thing. So I dream that Torino and other Italian teams as well, Celtic, get as much investment as they can legally, as I mentioned before, and that kind of thing. And sure, there's some other points I was going to make, but I can't quite remember, which is quite annoying. But yeah, so if Torino, I wonder if there are legal ways that Torino fans could put money into the club. Maybe like Torino fans would. I wonder if Torino fans would be willing to put 10% or even more of their own personal money, or even assets or whatever, into the club. And local businesses from that side of Turin would be prepared to put money into the club, and look at what local businesses could do, as well as politicians, councillors, within the rules, as I keep mentioning. But just making sure they don't fall foul of the rules. I wonder how much financial involvement fans could have, whilst at the same time still managing to attract wealthy owners, and make it worthwhile, obviously, which would attract wealthy owners. Moving on, number 24. Again, as I often mentioned, I'd love to see what could be done to benefit both club and country. So what the club could do to develop young, especially Italian players, to benefit the national team, how they could work with the Italian FIGC. So the FIGC to work with Serie A and all the Serie A teams, as well as bring all Italian, all those involved in Italian football together to look at how to develop younger players and that kind of thing, so towards a mutual benefit. So I hope it benefits all levels of Italian football and brings Italians together through football. And even those from the diaspora, perhaps, as I often mentioned. Number 25, again, connecting with those from the diaspora and looking at what they can do to attract investment from around the world and grow its fan base, Torino's fan base, more people to find out about Torino, and good academies, networks and things like that. 26. So as I would dream for this to happen from the 26th, i.e. Boxing Day, this year, all being well, or alternatively ASAP, and also for Italian teams to give back to countries that were colonised, as I often mentioned, possibly having academies and sports clubs in those countries. So it'll be a mutual benefit. So it's another cheeky way to, even though they're giving back, they're still kind of benefiting from a biased sort of way. You could argue that's a bit unfair, but as I say, life isn't always fair. But obviously, I'm a bit biased, so I dream that Torino and other Italian clubs, as I say, will benefit from that, but also give back to those countries at the same time. As I'm in a strange position of being, as I often say, like being mixed up, an anti-imperialist, but I still support Italian football. Number 27. On that note, how could Italian football be marketed to? I talk about the colour, passion, vibrancy. I often think Italian football teams have the best kits, but maybe I'm being a bit biased as ever. Pretty sure I am, but I do really think Italian teams, even though I'm not that big into fashion, like when I go out, my family have to pretty much beg me to get dressed up. But so even though I'm not into fashion at all, I still think the Italian teams have the best kits. But again, maybe I've got blue tinted spectacles, as in being a fan of Italian football. And I dream that Torino will have the wall, walk, and Hall of Fame and acknowledgements of their heroes, past, present, and future, those who have contributed to the club and will contribute to the club in the future. And that could be TATA, Toyota, Tesla, and others. If they do choose to invest, they could be acknowledged and honoured by the club, as well as those who coach the youth, develop academies, support like through sponsorship, places and spaces for people in Turin to play football, and that kind of thing. Number 28, again, hope Torino can make the world a better place as well and win trophies at the same time in Europe, hopefully, and internationally, all being well, as well as in Italy itself. And number 29, I did mention I was going to mention this point in number 17 as well. I was also going to mention in point number 29. I'd love to create a network, which I've often talked about, which is like the neurodiverse billionaires network, and for it to benefit Italian teams and Celtic by investing in them and that kind of thing. And once again, I would love to see what, and I know I mentioned this point before, sorry, a while back, but I'd love to see, and I'm very repetitive, so please forgive me, but I would love to see Anglo-Indians, my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians showing what we could contribute to Italian teams like Torino. By going to Turin, sometimes we could play as Juventus, but helping Turin to practice, and vice versa. So playing in Juventus's black and white kit against Torino, but helping them to practice. So even though we're playing against them, it's actually for their own benefit in the longer term, and similar for other Italian teams like Juventus. And I have this strange thing where I love all the Italian teams, but I hope it will benefit Torino. So I hope Torino fans would be happy with that. And number 30, as ever, I would love to read your comments and hear your ideas and suggestions. And I'm very repetitive, but these are some of my dreams for Christmas for Torino. And I would love to, on that note, have your suggestions on how to, perhaps I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but how to promote these ideas, as I asked the question on YouTube in the chat section. What are the best ways? I'll probably write it in the comments, actually, type it up in the comments. What are the best ways to promote these ideas so that these potential investors, hopefully like TATA, Toyota, Tesla, and others, would be interested in investing in Torino and having shares and equity in the club? And I'd love to, as they have suggestions on what could it convince them to do so. Anyway, peace and love. I am out.